All right, Blues, it's Stephen here, and we are back once again with a transfer target on BlueMoonRisingTV, and we have a new name for you straight away, and it's Riyad Mahrez. Now, this has appeared today, seemingly out of nowhere, and it's come from FranceFootball.com. Now, they're a very respectable source, apparently, according to a few people on the internet, and it's come from one of their lead journalists, and they've said that City have been looking around at the idea of signing the player with a valuation somewhere between 30 to 50 million euros, which is obviously a big difference there in prices. But then again, I would expect it to be towards the higher end of that bracket. I'm not so convinced that we are necessarily in for him. I do buy into the idea that he's probably on a list of some kind for Man City. Any club worth their salt would be watching a player of his ability. I'm sure even the likes of Barca, Real, Bayern, I'm sure they've all watched Mahrez because he won a vast amount of plaudits last year and trophies too, obviously, for his time at Leicester. And he's an excellent player, still only 25, and anyone would like a player of that technical ability. Having said that, he is nominally a right-sided attacker, and we are linked heavily to Leroy SANE, and obviously have the likes of Stones, De Bruyne, and Sterling, and so on. He can play on that side, and Navas is still at the club. I'm not convinced we're in for him. Maybe he is a backup in case the Leroy SANE deal does go south, but we'll chat a little bit more of that in a minute. But yeah, Mahrez, excellent player. Can I see it happening? Not really, if I'm being honest. Maybe if SANE doesn't happen, maybe we'll see a concerted effort to get him away. But for now, I think it's his agent just hawking him around the clubs, realising that it's not going to be quite as easy for Leicester this year. So maybe he's thinking, Kante's left, so maybe I should start considering my options. But yeah, he's going to stay on the outer ring. Maybe we'll come back to him again in the future, but it depends on the, in my opinion, on the situation of this next man, and that is Leroy SANE. There's been a little bit more news today, and it's very good news, thankfully. Now, I know a few of you, and myself a little bit, if I'm being honest, I've been a bit worried about Bayern and Real Madrid's alleged interest. That did come from his father, and it turns out his father does work for his agency. So you've got his dad trying to get his son a little bit more money. Surprise, surprise. And Carlo Ancelotti, who obviously is Bayern's manager, he's come out and said today that Bayern aren't in for any new players, which is obviously music to my ears, music to your ears, I presume, as well. So that means it's more or less a straight shootout between City and Schalke. I don't believe Real are interested at all. I think that's nonsense, personally. So, yeah, that's great. He's going to stay on the inside ring now for SANE. That's because I'm sure he's coming to City pretty soon. It's just about being patient. He's an excellent player. He'll suit a blue shirt perfectly. And I think it's just a matter of time before we finally eke out a deal with Schalke, and I think that will happen. And also, there's a little bit of Bonucci news. Now, this went quiet about a week ago. And then all of a sudden it just flared up again when all these rumours about a third party pushing the player towards City. And now the Mirror and Gazzetta Sport are reporting that City and Guardiola are obsessed with the idea of signing the player. It makes sense given how good he is, but they've said that City have studied, whatever that means, Juventus with phone calls about trying to buy him for 50 million euros. It's not going away, this. There is something to this. City are clearly in for him, in my opinion. Whether it'll happen or not too sure. He's going to stay in the middle ring because I don't think it's dead in the water, but I don't think it's close yet either. But it may be, just maybe, if Juventus decide that this is a good deal for them, maybe if they get someone else in as well as a backup and think £50 million, they'll probably get someone in for about 10 million knowing Juventus as a backup. Maybe they think it's a good idea. And the idea of Bonucci being swayed to work with Guardiola, that's not really that hard to imagine. So fingers crossed on that one. And finally, there's a new name on the transfer target today, and it's Gonzalo Higuain. Now, obviously, he's a top-class striker, a phenomenal one, in fact. On his day, he scored a record amount of goals last year in Italy. And now he had a quiet Copa America, and there is some doubts on his big stages. He's a man that most people would love to see in their squad. And City, according to Calcio Mercato, who are an Italian source, are linked to the player. The only thing is, he's got a release fee, of course, of about 78.5 million, which is an astronomical amount of money. And I can't really see that happening. I'm wondering, once again, it's his agent or it's the press being mischievous, because they've said that the idea would involve a swap deal with any one of the likes of Mangala, Boni, Fernandinho, which to me, alarm bells start ringing because Fernandinho isn't going anywhere, and I'm sure Fernando isn't either. Mangala potentially, but it just seems like someone's putting names in a hat there and just hoping something will stick because it doesn't really make any sense. Excellent player, and maybe we are after an international class striker, as the article put it, but I can't see this one. He's going to stay on the outside rings because I think he's not necessarily a good fit for Man City either. But what do you reckon, Blues, anyway? Do you think Higuain would make a good partner to Aguero, or maybe would he usurp him if he was in a City shirt? And can you see that happening? Mahrez, would you like him instead of SANE or with SANE? And also Bonucci. Is there still hope in this transfer left potentially? Drop a like on the video, get in the comments below, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.